Hello, welcome back to my channel. In today's video I'm going to do nails inspired by the character Evernight from the game Honkai Star Rail. I already filed my nails before I started filming and I put them on the tip stand. Now I am wiping them down with alcohol just to get rid of any debris on them. And then I'm prepping them by etching them using a primer. I prefer primer over filing them just because it's less messy, and I do not like filing in general. Now I'm applying a base gel. Every single one of those prepping steps is super important. Trust me, because I absolutely had nails come off the tips, just like slide off cleanly. That was terrible. So now I always make sure to prep everything as well as I can. Then I'm building some structure using a builder gel. At first I apply a very thin layer all over the nail. It's called the slip layer. And then I'm applying the gel on top in those sweeping motions. And then I just blob some gel on top. And the most important is to wipe off the side walls to make sure there's minimal gel on it, or the nail will look very, very thick. And before curing, I always turn them upside down to make sure the gel kind of self-levels. I'm taking out all the materials that I'm going to use to decorate. I was so excited once I finished those nails to wear them for my evernight cosplay, and then I realized that she wears the stupid ass gloves and then she has nails on top of the gloves. I hate when they do this design. Arlecchino from Genshin has the same, and I struggled so much with it because you cannot have any nails under the gloves that have nails on top of them, or it looks really, really weird. So now I'm not even sure how I'm going to go around it. Like right now I am considering just gluing those press-ons on top of the gloves, but that means that I won't be able to wear them. That makes me really sad. Okay, let's start the design. I'm going to show you nail by nail full design start to finish because I personally find it very hard to follow when people do press-ons and jump from nail to nail. I applied 2 coats of the jelly white as a base layer on the thumb. And then I'm applying some of this abstract gel. It's basically the poking gel. I bought it before poking gels became a thing, and I couldn't figure out how to use it for the longest time. And then I saw everybody using the poking gel, and I was like, oh my god, that's what it is. So yeah, here I'm going for the part of the design on her chest, where it looks like a dripping wax. So I just put a random shape, and then I cut out some circles by just wiping off the gel. And then I struggle for probably 20 minutes because I end up waiting way too long and it spreads out a little too much. So I have to apply more and then I have to wipe it off and repeat it multiple times. That was my first time using it, and you can tell that it was the first time I was using it. I drew some drips with it, and it was also a terrible idea because they shrink and I didn't need them to shrink. You see, here I'm putting some more because it shrunk too much. I probably could have drew it way faster without using this gel, but I kind of like how organic it looks when you use it. And I was very determined to use it for some kind of a design because I had it for a while and I couldn't find a use for it. Next I'm going to sculpt the flower on her chest, and I'm going to use the solid gel for it. Oh no, I broke the cuticle stick. Open piece cuticle stick. I started by just taking a blob of it and rolling it out. I hate touching this gel even with the gloves, so I'm using the jar to roll it out, and then I cut it into 4 equal pieces. And then I roll them into little balls. And then I make kind of a clover shape with it. And then I shape it using the cuticle stick. Look at me trying really hard to shape it, only to realize that it's too big. I'm using the tweezers to pinch the very sides. Found it the most convenient way to do it. And then I put a charm that I was going to use on top next to it and realized that it's still a little too big. So here I'm just using my fingers to push it back a little bit. And here it's kind of done. And then I'm just going to use a red gel to paint over it. Making sure every side is covered. And then it looked a little too flat, so I'm going to add some shading on it using a jelly black gel. I mixed it myself. It was probably one of the gels that I mixed for using in the mold. And then I put some of the jelly gel I'm going to use on the other nails on top of it. And then I wipe everything off very well with alcohol. And I cut off any gel that was stuck to the palette and was sticking out. And now I'm going to apply it on the nail. Still looked a little too flat, so I'm going to add some highlights with the metallic silver gel. Putting a charm on top of it. So now it looks pretty close to the one she has on her chest. And I'm mixing some caviar beads with top gel. And just adding some on top for extra detailing. She has those 4-petaled flowers all over her, so I'm putting some of those charms that look like them as well. And then I'm putting some rhinestones and caviar beads, just kind of framing side of the nail. And I decided that I don't like the position of the flower, so I cut it off. And here I lost the footage of me putting it back on, but I put it back on and then one other rhinestone at the very top. I love those tiny rhinestones so much. They're very, very sparkly and very, very tiny. They make the nail look very, very detailed. And here I thought it looked kind of boring because there's still some empty space. So I'm putting some chain on top of it. I'm done with the charms, so I'm going to put some builder gel, making sure all the charms are properly covered, all the space under them is covered up. Forgot to put a little rhinestone on top of this flower. And then I'm covering everything with the top gel. Then I'm putting some of the matte top gel on the palette, and I'm going to cover just the white parts of the snail. And yes, I am covering each tiny white space. And next, since I'm super extra on everything I do, oh hello, you can see me. I'm mixing some of this thick top gel with some black, and I'm going to go over all the black parts, making them convex. Pretty sure I ended up doing about 4 or maybe even 5 layers of it to make them as tall as I'd like them to be. Moving on to the pointer finger, I'm also covering it with, I think, just 1 layer of the white jelly gel. Then I'm taking out the super shiny glitter gel, and I'm just applying random splotches of it. Then I'm taking out the padding gel palette, and I'm taking this black color and using a gradient brush. I just tap it on in completely random places. And then I swipe it, creating this texture. And then I'm putting some of the glitter gel on top of it. And I'm going to do some stamping. Since she's a Titan of Time, I picked this stamping plate with the time motifs. And I'm just going to pick up some random designs and stamp them on the nails. They don't need to look perfect. In fact, I want them to look kind of messy, and I even used those little bits of the other designs that got also transferred to fill in the empty space. I use a lint roller to clean out the rest of the stamping from the stamper. And then I'm covering the whole design in some places with the milky white gel. And then I'm covering the whole nail with the very thin base gel, just to make sure the stamping doesn't come off accidentally. And then I'm going to move on to decorating with charms. I always wipe the big rhinestones with alcohol to make sure there's no oil on them from my fingers, because I need them to stick on very well. You know, I'm just not taking any chances, because those are #1 things, charms, that I lose when I'm wearing the nails. This cross charm that I put on there reminds me of this element of her design. That's what I was thinking about when I was placing it. But in general, this nail is just like the pretty nail that I just wanted to bling out and make extra special with as many charms and rhinestones and things that I can, even if it's not super tied to the character. Just because if every nail has just the elements of the character designs, I feel like it's a little too boring. So I tried to spice it up. And here I'm doing my favorite thing of arranging 1,000 of the caviar beads into the lines. And now I'm done with placing the charms, and I'm going to cover everything with the builder gel, making sure I frame this huge rhinestone very well, once again because I'm not taking any chances. Then I top coat everything, and then I'm going to take the matte top coat again, and I'm going to cover everything except for rhinestones and charms with it. Now moving on to the middle finger, and I'm starting with 2 coats of white as a base. And then I'm taking out the same glitter gel and I'm drawing some wavy pattern with it. And then I'm taking some of this black padding gel and I'm also putting it on top, focusing mainly in the center. Then I take the red chrome powder and I'm lightly dusting it over a layer of uncured base gel. And it gives it a slight red shimmer effect. It's mostly noticeable on the black part. And then I take those, I'm not sure if it's glitter or flakes. I feel like it's closer to flakes than glitter. And I just randomly dot some of it all over the nail. And I'm taking this jellyfish mold. I kind of hate it because it's opaque, so you can't really see what's happening on the other side, so you can't make sure that there are no air bubbles. But that was the only jellyfish mold that I had at the time, so I had to make do. I'm filling it with this jelly gel in very, very thin layers, because I tried it, and if you do a thick layer, it does not cure properly. Then I'm filling it in a slightly thicker layer because I mixed this gel with the top gel. And then I'm adding some black in the very middle. Then I decided to be a little extra, but I don't think it's noticeable at all, and I put some of the cat eye on top of it, or I guess at the back of it. And I magnetize it, but once again, I don't think it's visible at all. And ta-da, the jellyfish is done. Then I'm taking this mold and I'm going to make those little fabricy bits. I'm not sure what to call them. And I mix a lot of top gel with a teeny bit of white, so it's very see-through-ish. I snip off all the necessary gel from the jellyfish using an old cuticle nipper. And I'm putting it at the center of the snail. This jellyfish represents her mammoth pride, aka the thing that she uses to slap enemies. And I'm going to make it look more like hers by drawing some of those silver parts. And here I forgot that I wanted to make them slightly convex, so I'm drawing them with the silver gel. And then I'm covering some of the protruding parts with it as well to kind of highlight it. Then I draw on top of them with a gel that does not self-level, and then I go over them once again with the silver gel. And ta-da, now they're kind of convex. Then I attach those little pieces of fabric, and this is the part of her that inspired it. They kind of look like the jellyfish arms. I do not glue the whole thing in one go. I glue them a little bit by bit because it makes it way easier and make sure that they stick to the nail very evenly. And then I felt like they weren't fancy enough, so I'm going to put some of this very light purple pearly gel on top of it. And then I wipe off any excess with a wipe. Going to add some rhinestones. And it's all finished. Now I just need to coat it with a builder gel. And then put some top gel on it too. I'm wiping off any excess from the jellyfish using a gradient brush, just to make sure that there is still some texture. And moving on to the ring finger, this one also has a layer of white jelly gel. And then I'm going to use that same pearly purple. And I'm going to make a gradient on it. This nail is inspired by one of her back skirts. Here's an image of it. The gradient is not really from the bottom to the top, but it's kinda slanted from the bottom right to top left. I think I did 4 layers total to get this bright of a color, and then I'm taking a teeny tiny liner brush and the same glitter gel, and I'm going to draw those lines coming out from the bottom right corner, just like on her skirt. And then I'm going to put some charms on top of it. This is also one of the blinged out pretty nails. I feel like this charm fits very well because it has the same dripping effect as she has in a lot of elements of her outfit. Oh, my pink ear is kinda dying. This frame is trying to escape too hard, so I had to secure it with the solid gel. Some more of this 4-petal flowers. And then finishing everything with a billion of the caviar beads. Oh, and before I forget again, please subscribe to my channel and press the like under this video. It will help me a lot. And you can also check out my cosplay Instagram. Covering everything nicely with the builder gel. And then glossy top gel. And now moving on to the pinky, I'm starting with the base layer of the jelly white, just like the rest of the nails. And then I'm going to do the same thing as I did on the pointer finger on this one. So just randomly placing the glitter gel, the black padding gel, another layer of the glitter gel. And then some stamping on top of it. The stamping is so satisfying when it works out. Putting some of the milky white on top. And covering everything with the base gel to make sure the stamping stays in place in case I need to wipe the nail later. And for this nail I'm going to try to recreate this pendant that she has on her hip. So I'm going to start with this red rhinestone. And then I'm going to build a border around it, first starting with this jelly gel. It holds its shape very well, so it makes it really easy to fill in under the charm. And then I'm going to take this gel that I mixed in for the thumb, and I'm going to cover over it. I don't even know how many layers I had to do to get the shape. Then I'm going to take the solid gel and roll it out. Needs to be pretty thin. And then I'm going to add this element underneath. Snipping it with tweezers didn't work very well, so I had to resort to the old cuticle nipper. And then I'm covering it with the same gel. Drawing the drip and a little triangular element. And then I'm going to cover it all with the silver metallic gel. I think when I was practicing this design, on the other hand, I did the chrome powder, but I couldn't get quite everywhere nicely with it. So for this nail, I did the gel, and I feel like it worked way better. I'm going to cover it with this Vanillisa nail glue because it just covers it nicely and it stays very shiny under it. I tested it with a bunch of base and top gels and it ended up being the best option. And then I'm going to shade it so it stands out a little bit more with the black gel just all over all the silver elements. Then I'm going to add some chains because it is hanging on a chain. And it looked a little too bland, so I added some rhinestones. Then I'm going to cover everything with the builder gel. Then top gel. And finally, I'm going to apply matte top gel on the background. Oh, this was a very long video. I'm so tired of voicing it over. It's 4:15 a.m. and I'm so ready to go to sleep. Good night, guys.